Before we continue with the analysis, I want to talk to you guys about JerseyFIFA.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that's the latest home shirts, the latest away shirts, tracksuits, or even retro kits, Jersey FIFA has a bit of everything. There really is something for everyone, so if you are interested, then make sure to use the link in the description down below and head to JerseyFIFA.com. So I'm pretty sure that you could ask any logical Manchester United fan and they would tell you that the defence has improved this season under Erik ten Hag. Part of that has been the improved pressing structure which we have seen at the club. In the past couple of seasons, it's been something which the team has really struggled with. Ten Hag has gone some way to changing that. However, in my opinion, the pressing structure is still not optimal, and the whole way in which the team defends can be improved moving towards next season. So what I want to do today is talk about some of the ways the press can be changed, kind of compare it to what some of the other top clubs in Europe are doing at the moment, and then also look at what type of signings United need to put this new press in place. So let's look at United's current pressing structure, and we'll go with this as the starting 11. Of course, it's changed over the course of the season, but let's go with this as the 11. The way which Manchester United look to press is something a little bit like this. The striker will sit between the two centre-backs trying to force the goalkeeper to play one way. The wingers will then sit between the centre-back and the full-back like this, on both sides. Then they go man for man in midfield, although Casemiro kind of struggles at times to cover a lot of ground. And then you've got Eriksen here, who again isn't the most tenacious in the way that he defends. You've then got the full-back, who are quite deep, not really connected to the press. They're in these deeper areas on the wingers, and then you've got two centre-backs marking the striker. Now, we can see that this is a decent pressing structure. You know, there are no easy passes for the opposition here. However, when you play technical sides like you do in the Premier League, they will soon work the overload in these areas. And the main reason for this is because you only have 3 forwards up against the 4 defenders, which means that the ball can be played out from the back quite easily, particularly with teams that have ball-playing goalkeepers who are capable of clipping a ball over the winger to the fullback. With the Manchester United fullback disconnected, it's made it really easy for certain teams to play through the United press. From here we then see a really deep back line, a goalkeeper which is very passive and on his line, and like I've said already, a midfield where a couple of the players kind of struggle to cover the ground a little bit, and you can see some of the problems. So when United play the worst teams in the league, United have some success. They don't have the technical players, the opposition, so United can press in this shape and it is enough to win the ball back in dangerous areas. However, against the top teams, the goalkeepers are better on the ball and the centre-backs are better on the ball as well, which means that in these games, United become exposed when the press is played through. And there's also some numbers to back this up as well. For example, if you look at the height of the defences in the Premier League in terms of how high up the pitch they play, Manchester United rank in 14th place in the league this season, with 42.92. Compare that to someone like Arsenal, who are in second in the league with 50.29, an increase of 8, and then Manchester City in first with 51.65. So that shows that Manchester United's defensive line is far, far deeper than what the top teams in the Premier League are doing at the moment. Of course, Arsenal and Man City are the benchmark of what teams want to reach. United, from a defensive point of view, have a much deeper defence, of course making it harder to push high and squeeze up the pitch. The opposition have way more space. This of course affects the ability to press high up the pitch, and as a result United rank in 8th for passes per defensive action, which for those of you that don't know, it's the number of passes the opposition are able to play in deeper areas before United put some sort of defensive action in place. United rank in 8th in the league with 12.3. Compare that to Chelsea in first, it's just 10. So that's 2 less passes the opposition are able to play before Chelsea, who are first in the league for this metric, are able to get pressure on the ball and apply some sort of defensive action. So again, we can see the problem for Ten Hag. The question is, how can he change it? We can see a couple of the problems. One problem being that the defence is definitely too deep. It's way too deep. The team do not press high enough as a unit. As a result, the press is disconnected. So once the first line is beaten, which is very possible with technical teams, United become very exposed. Ten Hag needs to find a way to address this. And the way to do that is to get more players higher up the pitch, get the whole team higher, but really commit to not getting outnumbered in the first phase of the press. Like I've said already, currently United have 3 players up against 4 defenders, which means that one simple pass can completely take the press out of the game. United need to change that. The question is, how do they do it? Well, for me, the best approach which Ten Hag could use is the approach of Manchester City and Arsenal, or Pep Guardiola and Arteta. Both of these teams often press with 4 men on the front line. City's press, to be fair, is a little bit more inconsistent in the way that they do it. Sometimes it's a 4-4-2, sometimes it's a different shape. Arsenal, however, have a structure of the way that they press, which I really like, and I think it's a structure United should use. So let's look at how it could work. The way it would work is with some new signings initially. First of all, United need a new goalkeeper, a better sweeper goalkeeper. If we're talking about the average distance in the Premier League with which goalkeepers complete their defensive actions, David De Gea ranks in the 16th place in the Premier League. Compare that to someone like Alisson at Liverpool in the first, with 19.8 compared to De Gea's 14.8. That is a massive difference between the height of which the goalkeeper is doing these defensive actions, which shows that De Gea really isn't a sweeper keeper. So if United want to play a high line, they need a new goalkeeper in place. They need someone which can sweep up behind the defence, allowing the team to play a higher line. On top of this, they also need a new midfielder instead of Eriksen. Someone who physically is a bit better in the duels, has more energy, can get about the pitch a bit better, cover the ground and put the tackles in. And then finally, they also need a striker as well. Someone who plays with a bit more energy and is able to get on the front foot on the press. So this is kind of the signings which need to take place just for the defensive side of the game in terms of pressing. Of course, you can look at other things as well. But this would allow United to go with a new pressing structure, which looks a little bit like this. And this is how Arsenal do it. You put one winger on a fullback on one side of the pitch. Pretty normal stuff. You then put your striker on one of the centre-backs, the other winger on one of the centre-backs. Now, this is something which United do in spells at the moment. However, as we can see, it still leaves this very easy pass, because at United, the fullbacks are not connected to the press. This is something which Arsenal and City do very, very differently. We've seen Akanji for City pushing super high on the press, but more importantly Zinchenko for Arsenal. That is a structure which United need to use, pushing one of the fullbacks much further forward to engage the press. And for me, Luke Shaw would be the better option. Now, there's a couple of reasons why Luke Shaw would be the better option, rather than Dalot on the right-hand side. The first reason that this would be the better option is because if the opposition are forced long, which would often be the case in this structure, Dalot is better at defending in the air than what Luke Shaw is. So that gives United a bit more aerial prowess and ability to win these balls. The other reason though is because Antony on the right-hand side is actually a pretty good presser, compared to Rashford on the left-hand side, who isn't so great. So we give Rashford a little less work by kind of playing in the central position. But if United were to go for this press, the whole team would play so much better, because we can now see that there is no free pass for the team on the ball. Now, what this would often leave teams doing is therefore going long. But United now have a centre-back here who can engage here and win the header. You've got Lisandro Martinez on this side looking to engage in the header, which, you know, even the fact that we've moved him a little bit wider means that he shouldn't get as exposed in the air. And then we've also got Dalot, who's very good in the air as well. Now, this could swap this way around to put Casemiro on the left-hand side. That could work quite nicely to kind of cover for Lisandro Martinez as well. But what we're seeing is that this pressing structure now deals with several of United's weaknesses. It masks the weaknesses. Now, if we cap off all of this with a goalkeeper which is going to play much higher, sweeping up behind the defence, it means the back three can push even further forward on the press, which means the midfielders can push further forward, which also therefore means that the wingers and the strikers can push even higher. The result of this is that you win the ball back in dangerous areas, as the opposition are looking to kind of open up their shape a little bit, play the ball out from the back, kind of work their own angles in possession. Now in this man-to-man structure, you can win the ball nice and high, the opposition are open, and that is where you can score goals from. It's something which United have struggled to do at times this season. I think this would be a really, really simple way of fixing it, with just 3 signings coming into the team, and a slight change in shape, with one fullback pushing higher, the winger coming inside, and the other fullback sitting deeper. For me, it is something which Ten Hag really needs to do moving into next season. Now, some of you might look at that pressing structure, if we just go back to it, and say it looks a little bit too open with just the back 3 in this way. Would United get exposed? And I understand why people might think that. This is a very bold pressing structure. It takes real bravery to execute this. But like I've said already, Arteta and Pep Guardiola have got their sides doing it this season, and we've seen how well it's worked for them. 2 of the best defences in the league, they win the ball back super high, their passes per defensive action, some of the best in the league. This is a pressing structure which can work against the truly elite sides, because it leaves the opposition with no free man except the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper can be the free man if there is no one for him to pass to. This defensive structure, of course, like I've said already, is going to deal with the long ball, and all of the short options are taking out. This would drastically improve Manchester United's ability to win the ball. Now, not only does this obviously improve their ability to score goals because they're winning the ball back in advanced areas, but obviously it improves them defensively as well, because it means that the ball is up this end of the pitch on a far less regular basis. As I was saying earlier, currently United's press is beaten too easily, and you see players able to carry the ball forward unchallenged. This causes massive problems for the defence. If you address this by connecting the fullback to the press, it makes it so much more difficult for the opposition to do this. It puts the midfielders under way less pressure, it gives them way less ground to cover running towards their own goal, the whole team has more protection, the whole team is more connected, the forwards are close to the midfielders, who are close to the defenders, who are close to the goalkeeper. The whole team is much more compact, ready to press, and that is how you defend. And that for me is exactly why Ten Hag needs to try this. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Personally, for me, I think this is the defensive structure which United should be using moving forward. I think it's something which Ten Hag could certainly do. We saw Ajax do something similar at times last season. I think Ten Hag can implement this at the club if he is given the right signings. But like I said, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you like to see this pressing structure? Do you think it's a bit too open? Do you think United have the right personnel for it? And who should be signed to kind of try and play it in this way? For example, maybe you could put Højlund in as the striker, you could put Declan Rice in as the midfielder for his ability in duels, and then Diogo Costa in goal for his sweeping ability, just as an example. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Those are all of my thoughts on the current topic though, so thank you guys for watching, I hope you have enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you in the next one.